Yeah, so the title of my talk is Entangled Scripts in the Colloquial Writing Practices of the Senkeshung Uthun speakers. And I'm sorry about the technical problems, but finally we can get started now. So as an introduction to my topic, I would like to start with some different writing practices for Chinese varieties. So the language that I'm going to discuss today, it's one variety of Northwest Mandarin, which is very special in a way that it has lots of influence from Tibetan in all its levels of phonology, lexicon, and grammar, and this is very much reflected in the writing practices of the speakers. And unlike the commonly held view, Chinese writing in general is not uniform across the different parts of Sinosphere or Chinese diaspora communities. So there have always been various local ways of writing Chinese varieties, and these local ways of writing have also played important role in creating scripts for non-Chinese languages. For example, Khitan language, which is distantly related to Mongolic language, and Jurchen, which is a Mongolic Tungusic language. These were both spoken in medieval times. And in addition, Chinese has also been written by several non-Sinitic scripts in the course of its history. So in this talk, I will discuss the colloquial writing practices of the speakers of language called Senkeshung, or known as Uthun in the literature. Senkeshung is the local Tibetan name. And this language is a mixed variety of Northwest Mandarin spoken in eastern Qinghai, Northwest China. And I'm not a grapholinguist in my background originally. My background is in descriptive linguistic fieldwork. So I got interested in this topic since I have been doing linguistic fieldwork in Northwest China already for a longer time. And my PhD dissertation was a descriptive reference grammar of this language Uthun. And for this grammar, we worked with several native speakers and transcribed data and texts. And it turned out that the speakers have several like a local ways of writing the language. In the literature, this language Uthun is often characterized as unwritten language, but this is actually not fully true in the sense that the speakers are very skilled in adapting the writing systems they know to write their mother tongue. And my data consists of transcribed field notes and transcribed by mainly two young female speakers in their 20s, and they use methods that they have created themselves. And my perspective for this talk is both linguistics and socio-cultural. So I will discuss this local writing practices in terms of linguistic fit for the Uthun. Morphology, phonology, lexicon, so on. And I will also discuss the socio-cultural and material environment in which these writing practices were created, and essential parts of this is multilingualism. So northern and southern Chinese dialects, they are separated by Qingling Mountains and Huaihe River, and you can see the geographical division here. And northern dialects have been influenced by Mongolic, Turkic, and Tungusic language, and southern varieties by many mainland Southeast Asian languages, such as Tai-Kadai. And this division is reflected not only in phonology and lexicon, but also in grammar, and it is very much reflected to local writing practices. So, for example, in southern China, there are characters for writing local words that may come from mainland Southeast Asian languages, and these practices are not found in the north. And Chinese has also been written by different writing systems, not only by Chinese script, but also by Tibetan script. This is a text of of Northwest Mandarin written in Tibetan script, 7th and 19th century, found near Dunhuang, Gansu province, Northwest China. And this is particularly interesting for my talk because today I will show some synchronic writing practices, how Northwest Mandarin can be written by Tibetan letters. Chinese has also been written by Pakspa script, which was originally created for Mongolian and was in limited use during the Yuan dynasty in 12th century. In addition, in Northwest China, where Chinese is spoken by many Muslim communities, there are also practices of writing Chinese with Arabic script. And in Central Asia, where a number of Northwest Mandarin speakers migrated in late 18th century, and their language became influenced by Russian and Turkic languages. Cyrillic has been used for writing this language called Dungan. Lots of here's example of a Chinese written in Cyrillic. And now let's look at the colloquial writing in Utun. So this language is spoken by approximately 4,000 people in rural locality in Qinghai province of Northwest China, and it is spoken in a context of linguistic area which is often called Amdo Sprachbund or Qinghai Gansu Sprachbund. So there are approximately 15 to 19 languages in eastern Qinghai and southern Gansu provinces of Northwest China, and they have influenced each other for centuries. So there are Chinese, Tibetan, Mongolic, and Turkic languages, and they share many areal features that are not found in their relative spoken elsewhere. And the speakers of Utun are highly multilingual. They, in addition to their mother tongue, they generally know several varieties of Chinese, and Amdo-Tibetan is most important lingua franca for them. Almost all the speakers are bilingual in Amdo-Tibetan. And the Utun language itself can be considered as a mixed language. Its basic vocabulary and grammatical morphemes mainly come from Chinese, while morphosyntax is heavily Tibetanized, and there are also some Mongolic features. And the language is spoken here close to the Lake Qinghai. And the speakers are Tibetan Buddhist, and this is so the Tibetan script has a special cultural significance for in the community. And because the language is high contact variety of Northwest Mandarin, there are lots of grammatical elements and that are not found in other varieties of Chinese, and this is highly significant also for writing systems. For example, in these examples, all the elements in bold are local Northwest Mandarin morphemes that are generally not generally not found in most of the Chinese languages. And in addition, the language has very complicated sound system, 38 consonants and lots of Tibetan consonants. For example, voiced stops, and here's the vowel system. And there are lots of Tibetan words that do not have a standardized way of writing in writing conventions in, for example, in Chinese writing. And a couple of orthographies have been suggested for this language. They are based on Tibetan alphabet. The sound system of the language is very of Utun is very close to local varieties of Tibetan. So Tibetan writing is one option to write, and several orthographies based on Tibetan have been suggested by the linguists. But however, they have not been widely adopted by the community. But now we come to and I will not go them through in detail because they are not the main focus of the talk today. But what is interesting is that even though there's no standardized orthography widely used and Uthun language and writing Uthun is not taught at schools, educated speakers are very skillful in applying Chinese and Tibetan writing systems to write their language, and this is very much the use of entangled scripts. So the speakers do not restrict themselves to one particular writing system, and let's see how it looks like. So when the speakers of Uthun go to school, they learn 3 different writing systems. They first learn to read and write Tibetan, and for that they learn Tibetan Abugidas. Later they also learn to read and write Chinese, and this Mandarin Chinese, and this involves learning both Chinese characters and the Chinese phonetic alphabet or pinyin, which is based on Latin alphabet. And all these writing systems are also very, very visible in the local linguistic landscapes. For example, this is a picture of Tibetan restaurant with all the different writing systems. And this building in the shop signs there are some Tibetan and then Tibetan transcribed in Chinese characters. And this may have inspired local writing practices as well. So ways of colloquial writing that the community members have used include writing Uthun in pinyin, so in Latin alphabet, using only Tibetan Abugidas, using only Chinese characters, but also combining Tibetan Abugidas with pinyin, or Tibetan Abugidas, pinyin, and Chinese characters. And let's have a look at some examples. This is a scanned field note. It's maybe not very easy to see, but let's see the transcribed examples. So here are a couple of transcribed sentences that the speaker has written using Chinese pinyin based on Latin alphabet and Tibetan Abugidas. And here we can actually see that the Tibetan elements, for example, Tibetan words or words that contain some Tibetan sound on Tibetan grammatical morphemes, they are consistently transcribed using Tibetan writing, and rest of the sentence is written using Chinese pinyin based on Latin alphabet. So the elements in bold, they are all Tibetan based, and they are written using Tibetan. And this writing practice it reflects like very high degree of linguistic awareness, and it actually reflects the mixed nature of Uthun language and Chinese and Tibetan elements also in a visual level much better than any writing system created by linguists. So Tibetan writing is systematically applied for Tibetan based word sounds or grammatical elements. For example, the word hloma, student, the palatal fricative, that is Tibetan sounds, or the factual evidential marker that indicates common knowledge. Chinese elements are written consistently in pinyin, and also the punctuation is combination of Tibetan and Chinese. So Tibetan words are separated by the dot as in Tibetan writing, while the dot is also used at the end of the sentence as in pinyin. So Tibetan uses vertical line. And here is another example that actually uses all three writing systems in the same sentence. So in the same sentence, both Chinese characters, Tibetan alphabet, and Latin alphabet are used. This is also a transcription practice created by a native speaker. And here Tibetan alphabet is again used for writing words and grammatical elements that contain Tibetan-based sounds. But interestingly, people's proper names are written by using Chinese characters, even though the community members have Tibetan names. And one possible explanation for this might be that the names are written in Tibetan names are transcribed using Chinese characters in official documents. And here is an example of how native speakers have written Utun using Chinese characters. So here this sentence, Makatiliku, what is he doing, is transcribed using Chinese characters. And here the characters are based on and are used based on their pronunciation rather than meaning. So most of these, even though Mandarin and Utun are closely related, most of these characters that are used, they are actually not the cognates of the syllables that they transcribe in Utun. They have completely different meaning. For example, the first Chinese character ma, it means hemp. So it doesn't have anything to do with the question word, but here it's used to transcribe interrogative pronoun. And the Utun language, it has many grammatical elements, for example, progressive marker, ki, and so-called sensory inferential evidential li, which expresses that the speaker has seen or inferred this event. And these are transcribed using Chinese characters on the basis of their pronunciation. But this Chinese character ki means earth and li means inside, so they are not directly related to the meaning. And you can see that this language is very it's very different from modern standard Chinese. And here's another example. I'm going now. So the verb go and the aspect marker, they are actually cognate with Chinese words, and they are transcribed using Chinese characters. So, but the temporal adverb is transcribed based on its pronunciation. And here let's move into discussion now. So this colloquial writing in Utun can be considered as an example of so-called language-independent writing. So in highly multilingual societies where people know several languages and use the languages all these languages in their daily life, they don't necessarily treat the languages and writing systems as distinct codes. Instead, linguistic repertoires include bits of languages, and they are used as communicative resources in speech and writing. And this process is called translanguaging. So in this case, we can see that the Tibetan Abugidas, Chinese characters and Latin alphabet are not necessarily treated as strictly distinct codes, but rather as resources that can be used in a creative way to write the Utun language and they can be used on the basis of both their linguistic fit and socio-cultural meaning. And in multilingual societies, people often write small and locally confined languages by using elements from several scripts and orthographies. And in addition to this translanguaging perspective, this colloquial writing based on Chinese characters, it might resembles in a way it resembles early stages of Sinitic writing systems before their standardization. So originally, Chinese characters were used for writing like highly analytic language, and later it was also applied to many non-Chinese languages who were often agglutinative, and several conventions and characters were created to to write the morphology of languages that differ from Chinese. For example, Japanese and Japanese and Korean. And some early Japanese and Korean writing system, for example, Manyogana, that was used before the current Hiragana and Katakana writing system, and Kugyeol, which is preceding the Hangul writing system. They were based on several same type of principles, using Chinese characters to transcribe elements of that were originally not present in Chinese languages. And also the so-called Khitan scripts that were used to write language distantly related to modern Mongolic languages. It was also based on local ways of writing Chinese and using Chinese characters. So here in these examples, we actually see on the synchronic level something that happened in the past, in the history of many East Asian writing systems. And as a conclusion, this writing system can be seen as emergent translanguage in practice, in which the writing is not fixed, but it's constantly under construction. It reflects the speaker, the language user's creativity and linguistic awareness. And different writing systems are treated as resources for colloquial writing, possibly inspired by both linguistic awareness of speakers and the linguistic landscapes and writing practices visible for them. And in addition to synchronic perspectives to writing, studying colloquial writing can also open new perspectives on how like many synetic-based writing systems developed. And in addition to these perspectives, I would like to raise discussion about this distinction between unwritten and written languages. We often talk about languages that do have writing system and languages that are unwritten, and these local colloquial writing practices may be allowed to problematize this concept a little. So even though the language does not have like a standardized official standardized or conventionalized orthography, the speakers, language users and community may have various options of writing languages based on the resources that are available for them. And this was my talk today, and here are some references, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Erica. If you could stop sharing your screen, and we will invite questions.
Yes.
Thank you. The audience, anyone would like to ask questions? Could you come up here so she could see you? You can talk better.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. It's amazing. And you know, I'm Wei Ji, come from China, and I also have a strong interest in with southwestern part of China, and I also have interest in with you know, different ethnic groups, language and writing systems, and I also focused on the Xiao'er writing system you mentioned before, and I know that some scholars, they classify the Jingtangyu language and the Xiao'er writing system as a you know, subsystem of Chinese language or Chinese writing subsystem. And may I ask that in your view, can the mixed writing system of Wutonghua, which combines the Pinyin, Tibetan scripts, and Chinese characters, be classified as an independent writing subsystem, just like the Xiao'er or Jingtangyu? And are there currently any orthographic or standardization projects or related efforts underway for 梧桐话? Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for the questions. This is actually a really good question. Like how to classify this type of writing, and can you classify it as a Sinitic writing system or not? I haven't really thought about this question so much, and probably. I would for this writing I would probably use the term like writing practice rather than writing system, because there's lots of variation how different speakers have used this thing. So maybe I wouldn't classify it exactly the same way as Xiaoqing. And regarding the standardization efforts, there have been attempts to introduce the standardized orthography, but the standardization attempts they have been based on these writing systems created by linguists that I mentioned before. So several linguists have suggested orthography that is based only on like Tibetan writing and with no Chinese characters and no signs from Latin alphabet, and there has been projects and attempts to standardize them, but they have not been widely adopted by the community so far. There hasn't been any projects that would have tried to standardize these local writing practices that I have shown and make them as a kind of standard for writing.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's a pity that we can't talk face to face, but unfortunately, I have to cancel my plan to travel. Yeah.
Many thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. We have 4 more minutes. So, any more questions from the audience? Yes, please.
Hi, yeah, thanks for that. That's really interesting. I wondered if you've noticed, or if you know, or if you predict there would be any differences in the way different age groups use the combinations of scripts.
Yeah, this is also a very good question. Well, I would say that the older generation would tend to favor Tibetan writing, and Chinese characters maybe be more prominent for younger generations. Like the examples that I showed you, they don't represent different age groups very well, because they are all written by people in their 20s with whom we work together for the reference grammar project. And these speakers are highly educated. They have university level education, and they know all 3 writing systems. Like they are very, very proficient in all 3 writing systems. But generally, like the older generation of speakers, like middle-aged or older, haven't necessarily learned Chinese writing so much. Like Tibetan writing has been primary for them, and also one of the speakers who was working with me, he was in his 40s when he started, and he didn't use this kind of mixed type of writing, like he used either Latin alphabet or Tibetan. So I would say that these examples that the mixed several writing system, they reflect the practices of young speakers who are very proficient also in Chinese and not only in Tibetan.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
One last quick question, anyone? Last quick question. So Eric, I was curious, is this kind of writing performed only like using hand and paper, or is it done digitally? And does the media change have any impact on the combination of languages, of scripts, I should say?
Well, this is also a very good question. Yeah, this kind of practices have I have mainly seen in handwriting. In digital writing, people tend to use prefer to use like one script at a time, and not combinations like this as far as I'm aware of. But I haven't done like lots of research on digital writing so far, so I cannot say for 100% that this kind of translinguistic practices wouldn't exist, and we know actually from earlier studies on writing in the digital world that this is actually this is often actually an environment that is very that favors all kind of translinguistic practices and using different types of scripts. For example, for many Chinese dialects, it's more common to use like a dialectal version expressions in digital writing. So this would need a little more research.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you, the audience.
Yeah.